Good morning, everybody. Today I'm here with Nemat from the Institute for Digital Transformation in Healthcare and also a member of the International Data Spaces Association Board. He's a medical doctor, and this is also a reason why he feels at least responsible for the data, for the topic of data ethics inside our association. Today we want to make a webinar on data ethics in our IDSA webinar series about data ethics, and let us see what Andreas does.
Well, Sebastian, thank you for having me here. And as I used to also be at the University of Wittenberge, I have prepared a couple of slides for maybe making something clear here. And let's start with maybe with something which is quite common. We all know that digital technologies are dominating our world, and since everything is interlinked and connected, data is constantly generated and collected in all areas of our lives, and such like in any industry, in the healthcare sector, and more. So data is extremely valuable for companies, but mostly only useful when it is further analyzed and combined. And the aspect who provides what kind of data and who captures the values has become an enormous factor in the economy. And to make the story short, data rules the world. Would you agree?
Yes, I would agree totally.
Okay. So when we look at how data is handled on a global scale, we have to respect that there are major differences worldwide. Data protection, as an example, is being valued very differently. While the protection of the individual rights are highly valued in the western part of the world, in the Far East, actually, individuality is mostly being ignored for the sake of social peace. And the undeniable human rights of an individual to self-determination and autonomy and privacy are thereby not taken into account during the collection and the use of data in other parts of the world. Okay? So, when we look at the European set of values, they are based on human dignity, on freedom, democracy, equality, the rule of law, and the respect of human rights, including the rights of minorities. Resulting from this, the topics of autonomy and data is dealt with quite different compared to other locations and other cultures around the world. And now the European General Data Protection Regulation has built a capacity to enforce a level of playing field for all companies to act in. And that means that now we should start requiring companies and governments as well to behave ethically within the bounds of this regulation and to discuss and think about what such an ethical behavior actually means. Okay? So, these European values require to pursue the concept of data sovereignty. So this is all about in our International Data Spaces Association. Companies that produce and provide data should be able to determine what actually happens to their data. Even if they share data, they must always be able to control who uses which data and for what purpose. And however, the moment at this point of time, and at this moment, this is not the standard yet. So as you know, Sebastian, the IDSA was founded by representatives from science, from politics and business in order to technologically create a standard for data sovereignty. This will build a trustworthy and self-determined exchange of data. This is the goal we are all longing for. So the IDS makes an important contribution to the digital infrastructure with the concept of data sovereignty and therefore provides a solution to market inhibiting effects of data economics generally, but especially for the industrial Internet of Things, for artificial intelligence, and any kind of smart devices scenarios. IDS literally provides the ability to describe, to trade, and to protect data as an asset, the central object of these ecosystems. And as mentioned before, there is no such standard yet outside. And on the basis of these European values I mentioned before, the IDS makes its own contribution to this whole digital ethics debate. As you are reading this definition of digital ethics, the speed of the digital development has long taken over the time of reaction of law and legal regulations. We always see the benefits of using data, but the downsides are not always desirable for people and for society as a whole. And at the same time, completely new forms of interaction between man and machine expose us to completely new possibilities for action that would not have been possible without digital technologies. By analyzing personal as well as anonymized data, we can draw conclusions about the behavior of people individually. And the question is this morally justifiable? For that reason, there has been a growing call in recent years for digital ethics to address the limits of what we should and what we should not do with the help of technology. And digital ethics, therefore, means dealing with ethical issues arising from the use of digital technologies. So the focus is on actually doing the right things. The most recent comment on this debate, and let me mention this, was made a few weeks ago by the German Data Ethics Commission, and it assumes that digital ethical questions can be viewed from two perspectives. This is quite smart. We have the data perspectives as well as the algorithm perspective. And both perspectives are mutually complementary and draw ethical discourses that belong together. Without data, as we know, algorithms cannot achieve results, just as data without algorithms cannot be analyzed and used. So let us take a closer look at these two perspectives. I think this is quite valuable for us. The data perspective looks at the data that, for example, from the basis, from the training of algorithmic systems or algorithm-based decisions. Questions about acquisition, storage, aggregation, and use of data are asked here. For example, it is relevant from which source data originates and how it is cleaned, since a bias can creep in here, which then leads to the fact that the algorithm that is trained on this data may discriminate minorities in decision proposals. In addition, it is ethically and legally relevant whether the data is personal or non-personal, as individuals may be more or less affected by it. On the other hand, the algorithm perspective deals with the structure and dynamics of data processing algorithms. The main focus here lies on the relationship between man and machine. Is it justifiable, for example, for an algorithm to pre-select candidates in a recruitment process? Many such questions on algorithmically supported decisions are also discussed within the keyword of AI, of artificial intelligence, which, however, is only a part of a larger category of algorithmic systems. So, the focus on AI may be shortened, but it gave a boost to the discussion about the ethical implications of technology. The increasing focus on ethical issues in digitization is reflected in the large number of proposals for ethical guidelines by non-profit organizations, political institutions, and companies. Did you know, Sebastian, that in Europe alone, there are 46 guidelines have been developed since 2015, and more than a half, namely 70% of these guidelines, refer to the algorithmic systems, which I mentioned before, and the remaining 30% to the data. Of the algorithmic systems, 84% focus on AI, on artificial intelligence. So AI as a driver of ethical guidelines demonstrates the desire for a secure framework for dealing with this technology. There are still voluntary guidelines that ultimately serve for self-regulation. Historically, however, we already know of a process that has turned voluntarily self-regulations into mandatory self-regulations. As you remember, this was the rise of corporate social responsibilities. And the rise of corporate social responsibilities, the development of CSR, followed a step-by-step pattern, which we can also observe in the context of such as corporate digital responsibility as a governance instrument for digital ethics. However, the speed of digitization forces us to act faster in this case. It is foreseeable that reporting obligations will also be introduced in the context of CDR and digital ethics. I am quite sure about that. So let me see. This gives us an idea about the speed of the development we have here. I do not believe that we have got 30 years to solve this problem. And last but not least, with a standard for data sovereignty, the IDS offers companies the opportunity to maintain an ethically correct handling of data by, at the same time, keeping control of them. And with European values at its core, this standard has an important and, to my point of view, a unique selling point in a scalable and international comparison. And by translating these values into a technology within the framework of data sovereignty, the IDS makes a valuable contribution to consolidating and to strengthening data ethical principles. So it would be such a thing like ethical by design.
Thank you, Andre. That was very interesting. Now let me check that people can see us again. So, thank you, Andre, so much for this full statement and for your opinion on that, and also for a lot of knowledge that you've gathered together with your colleagues in your institute. I have some questions. Of course, you said this is part of the debate that we do have currently regarding data ethics, regarding the ethics of data use. Recently, I had a discussion about the role model that we in Europe have, that you also mentioned, the European values. So maybe it's the role model that we do have here in Europe. This is also something that we can export to the rest of the world, to Asia, to Australia, to Africa, to America, to Northern and Southern part. What's your opinion on that?
Very good question, Sebastian. And actually, that leads to what formerly was very highly appreciated by the sticker made in Germany or maybe made in Europe, which was something we exported very well throughout the whole world. The question is, would nowadays something which is ethically designed, products that are ethically designed in Europe, are they as good as they can compete outside with other products? Is this being appreciated? Is this being used? And this opens up all these cultural differences that I mentioned before. And let me put it this way: we have a consent about our climate change issues, and the Paris Declaration, for example, gathered a lot of countries that, and committed them to behave in a strict manner to save the world, actually, because we don't have any plan B for that. However, in the field of data economy, we don't have this common sense. We don't have this common set of values. So I believe that many in the exporting industry, a lot of people would say, we couldn't care less about ethical issues because we don't know if these ethically products are being well sold outside, maybe even not. And what we are experiencing right now is that also we are a country which needs technology from outside. For example, if we have these 5G debates in Germany, where we have to import Chinese technology because it is much better and we don't have it here. We actually are debating on that. Are we importing Chinese way of life? Are we importing their ethical issues about, to control society? Are we importing this as well? And so there's always the question of, are we literally exporting only products, or are we also exporting a way of life and a ethical picture of how a society should be? So this is a question which is very much debated, and I don't think that we have an answer right now. But it is important to keep an eye on that. I do believe so.
So what you're saying is that we have to head for a consensus all over the world how we should care about data, what's the common sense about how to care about data, and that we do have to create a demand for products that we have. If we build good products, like we do with cars, for example, especially here in Germany, German cars are exported all over the world because they are good products, and not because they are common sense of the good way of driving. And so you're saying create a common sense, and this will take some time, and in the meantime, build good products with built-in data ethics from our sense, but make this not a major driver for us.
You brought up this example by automotive and our cars. Okay, I believe that we build out good cars, but actually debate is more on how the cars, how our way for mobility is affecting our environment, our the ecology in the system of our environment. So it is not about the cars, but it is about the engines. And I don't want to get into this debate if electronic built cars are better than the conservative motors. I don't want to get into this, but the demand to drive environmentally correct and politically correct cars is rising. And I don't know if we in Germany have acted too late on this. But let me give you an example from a field and an industry I'm more common with, and this is the healthcare industry. When we look at the data which are collected in the area of healthcare, we know that the source of this raw material, which is data, the source being the human himself, the data that literally comes out of our bodies. Okay? And this has to be brought into a chain, whether it is the value chain or the choice chain or the consent chain. but they are left out of all these dimensions. And as you watch this problem is getting bigger and bigger over time, one perspective is, oh my God, you will never going to solve this. How are we going to export our products on the one hand? And the other perspective is, in order to solve this, you have to think about things completely differently to solve them. On the top of the spear, like we have to address the human right level, and then at the same time we have to express the evidence that this could work. So one part is the narrative, the advocacy, the ethics, and the other part is to lay down evidence and an expression of an industry model to really show how it would scale at a macroeconomic point of view.
Okay, understood. But let me ask another question. You used to be a medical doctor, now dealing with this data. I dealt with data for a long time. I'm a computer scientist. I work with data. I use this technologies to create data from the IoT. Also, with getting the data out of the body, getting the data out of the business. I know that we can compute data, process data, get insights from the data, generate knowledge out of the data. We can make use of big data. We can use AI. I already talked about AI a little bit. Everyone can do. Every skilled developer can use all those technologies. So what I'm asking myself, and not only today, since longer time, is what are we currently doing here as technology guys? Are we building Frankenstein's monsters? So what could be the framework for the developers, for the programmers, but also for the users of the system that we build? What could be the frame that we have to focus on to not create Frankenstein's monster, but to create a good thing out of this technology?
Frankenstein's monster. Yeah, that's a good example for that. Well, as you mentioned before, Sebastian, I'm a medical doctor, and as you may know, at the end of our graduation, we doctors have to lay down a Hippocratic oath, which is based upon ethical principles and bioethical principles. And actually, maybe one brief answer to your question would be that we need such an Hippocratical oath as well for you guys who write algorithms and deal with data. Maybe this would be mandatory and necessary. But actually, it opens up again an ethical debate. We need a framework and guidelines for everyone in society to behave ethically, And when we debate about these topics and we discuss about these topics, it is always looked at. Ethical issues always, slow things down. If you talk too much, you have a lot of opinions, and everybody thinks different. This slows things down. Technology is so up speeding right now. We have this debate and this social ethical debate. They lead us to that. So let me look at it from a different point of view, and this would be the business model issue. As you know, the narrative is we companies, we give you services for free, and you give us your data, and you act as a product. So this is the deal. And this business model, they are not prioritizing ethics, but they are prioritizing economics. And this issue now is boiling over to a point so that the public are calling for ethics. And whenever the public wants something, it means that there is good economics out there. So this may be the answer to your export question. Maybe at some point of time, producing ethically correct products will be the unique selling point for European products. I don't know, but this would be something which would be desirable from my point of view. And at this scale, we're talking about data sovereignty will be something which I very much would like to export.
So, and we have to basically work on two frontiers. The one thing that we used to work on is the supply side. There's a problem with the data sovereignty. Then you say that now we have to work more on the demand side, that people, the companies are demanding for data sovereignty in reality.
Yeah. Let me give you an example because it is so clear in the healthcare area. As you may know, pharma is the biggest buyer of healthcare data. Okay? And the pharma industry actually is very much excited about these issues of data sovereignty. Why? Because for the first time, they have the opportunity to have a direct relationship to human beings and to their customers at scale. They never have been offered this before. They have always been offered de-identified data that come from a supply chain that came with a tremendous amount of regulatory and compliance overhead on it, and the data quality is not as good as it could be. Okay? So there is a business model where you can have a better compliance and better data quality if you are able and if you would respect the source. And the source being the human being, for example, should be able to act in a sovereign way. And this is not only the only good ethical. It's also I'm very sorry about this. It's also a good economic business model.
Understood. Completely understood, and me as well. So we can discuss this very good from the perspective of individuals, human users. What I see is, and we do have here, especially in Europe, GDPR in place, which is a good leap ahead from the place where we came from. But I still think that we have to relate this more to this whole IoT debate. That we are generating a lot of data from the IoT, from all those different devices, and nearly every data set is somehow related to a person. And I think we need also this cultural shift here, because we are very certain about how to use data in our private life, our personal life. In the morning, when I go outside for a run, I like to share my data from my Apple Watch or whatever with my friends and tell them, here see around those amount of kilometers in the time, the whole world may see it. When I then come back to my office, suddenly I do not share any data anymore because I'm not aware what's the value of the data, how it has to be protected, must it be protected, who is the member in my ecosystem, who are the stakeholders that have an interest. And I think here we have a lot of things to learn as individuals as well, and this also leads to further education, not only finding the right data ethics, but also to educate people, that people understand how this works.
Absolutely, I completely agree. To get back control is something which is mentioned here, and I completely agree that we are beginning to enter a new era, maybe of wisdom about data and about how to deal with data. And this is acting and supporting the international data spaces. There's really something which I believe in, that data sovereignty, if we have a standard for that, which is applied into the whole data economy system, would solve a lot of problems and would make things much easier. And which is very interesting is that actually, I used to think that ethical discussions are old-fashioned. We don't discuss about ethics anymore. ethics seems to be so 70s or 60s and 70s. But actually, no. People are longing for some guidance, and ethics can be guidance, but ethics alone would not be enough for us that are developing some kind of technology. But to embed ethics into technology, this would be the goal. And this is why the international data spaces is so important to me.
So, Andre, I don't think that you can have a better end. So let us stop here for today. And I hope that, at least I know we, both of us, we will continue this discussion. I hope that we will discuss further in the International Data Spaces Association with all our members and beyond.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Andre, for the time being.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Sebastian, for having me, and it would be a pleasure to get into a debate on this, because overall, what I believe in sincerely is that I think, it's like faith is too important to leave it to the religious, and our terrestrial environment is way too important to leave it to the politicians, just like the tech world, is way too important to leave it to some tech monopolists. So let's engage, let's be engaged citizens.
Great. Famous last words.
Did you have me on thing here?
Yes.
Are we being seen?
So thanks to all of you for listening. As you may have recognized, we had to record this webinar with Andre Nemat yesterday because he had another appointment today that he could not skip. We'll put this webinar also on YouTube. So if you liked it, you can also like it later on YouTube. And if you're just listening to this webinar on YouTube, you can also like it as well. So thanks to all of you for listening, and I hope to continue this discussion on data ethics with all of you in the International Data Spaces Association. So thank you for listening and have a great day.